Hey guys, Sherm here, and today I'm going to be testing both the real and Lego F40 in multiplayer in Forza Horizon 4. Here I have the stats for the two cars. They have the same weight and horsepower, however the F40 has more torque and is rear-wheel drive. Now we will do our acceleration and top speed test, and in this video I was able to make the Lego F40 purple, which I couldn't do on the Senna. You will notice that the real F40 starts up a bit faster than the Lego F40, however around 180 miles per hour something interesting begins to happen, and the Lego F40 begins to catch up to the real F40 in terms of speed, and passes it in speed by the time it reaches 220 and still up to 240 miles per hour. But then the Lego F40 taps out at 243, and the real F40 keeps going for a bit. So the real F40 has better launch, whereas the Lego F40 has better acceleration. And the real F40 taps out at 263 miles per hour with this tune. In this video will be a sequence of 3 sequential races in the real F40 followed by 2 races in the Lego F40, so you can get a feel of how they both drive. You'll notice that we have a bit of a smaller lobby in this video, however the races were quite close and good nonetheless, with Lukey, Invader, and Varen Viper joining in. If you would like to be a part of these races, be sure to join the Purple Team Discord community, which will be linked in the description. Go to the Special Roles channel, click on the Forza Horizon 4 emote, and you will be given a role that I will tag every time I do one of these private lobbies, in which I will then give you instructions on how to join. Pretty easy if you have the game, and if you do not have it, I would definitely recommend checking it out. Our first race here is on Lake District Sprint, which is mostly a fairly curvy track, however it doesn't really have many super sharp turns, so it's good for cars that handle pretty well. And the F40 does. It's not quite as good at handling as, say, the Senna or the Apollo Intensa Emotion, but it more than makes up for that with its very high top speed for S2 class, 263 miles per hour as you saw earlier. Now, on no track will it really be able to reach there, but you also saw this car has very strong launch and quite good acceleration as well. I think it may very well be the king of S2 class. If it is not the king, it is definitely one of the kings. I know the Ferrari FXX is also pretty high up there. So while driving this car may not be quite as enjoyable, or perhaps not even quite as easy as something like the Senna, I would definitely say it is in fact more powerful and will probably allow you to pick up more wins. And as you saw in my McLaren Senna video, and as you will see later in this video, the Lego F40 is not too shabby either. You see, most of the Lego cars in this game, well, there are really only 3 of them, but it seems to be that they are slightly worse than their real-life counterparts. I'm not entirely sure because obviously I haven't been able to find tunes with the exact same stats, but that seems to be the case. Even though the Senna passed us a bit back there, we were able to pull ahead with our better acceleration to come in first place in this first race. Our second race is on a circuit track, Bamberg Coast Circuit to be specific, and I do not think that I have played on this track in any Forza video yet. If I have, it has been quite a while, so this should be a good change, I think. In my opinion, Forza does need to add more road and street racing races into this game, mainly because, well, that's what the majority of the cars in this game are good for. Now, obviously you can tune cars in different ways for dirt or for cross-country, but like most of the supercars, which there are a lot of in this game, are definitely best on the street. And I think that most people who are playing this game want to play mostly on the road and street ones. That is just my opinion, of course. There could be people who enjoy dirt racing a lot more. And let me know if you would like to see me do any of the dirt racing or cross-country circuits with perhaps cars better suited for those. Because I know so far I've pretty much only done these street racing cars. And that's because I think they're really the most fun ones to drive, they're the fastest ones, they're generally the easiest ones, and they're the ones that you might find in Asphalt 9. And I know a lot of Asphalt 9 people watch my Forza videos, so it's good to have that link there, because there could be a car that I test that pretty much nobody has ever heard of, and then the majority of my audience isn't going to be interested in that video, even if it is a very good car in Forza, just because, well, it doesn't exist in any of the Asphalt games. So yeah, that's sort of my thought process behind all that. We've got Lukey and his Senna quite close behind us, and I would say the Senna definitely has a sort of advantage on circuit tracks, maybe not a definite advantage over the F40, but it would be closer in terms of performance on the track than on, say, Greendale Super Sprint, which has a very long section on the highway. Whereas most circuit tracks in the game are made mostly out of curves. Now they do have some longer straight sections such as this one, but the car can barely reach 200 miles per hour, which pretty much every halfway decent car in S2 class can reach. We were we're still able to pull out the win here, nothing much happened on the last lap, and now I will tell you about the update that has come to Forza Horizon 4, Update 11. So this race is on Greendale Super Sprint, which is the one I talked a bit about earlier that has that long straight highway section. Let's see how fast this car can get up to on there, and where it might pull away from some other cars. So I said I would talk a bit about the update. So 8 new cars have been added in Update 11 to Forza Horizon 4. I'm not sure of every single new car that was added, but there is a Ford Ranger Raptor, a McLaren 12C Coupe, a Koenigsegg CCX, I believe it is, and we've also got a new Top Gear story featuring 3 Top Gear cars, or vehicles, I should say, because there's a Mercedes-Benz E350, a G63, but then there's a tractor that you can drive, and that has a big spoiler on the back. And I believe you can give it well over 1,000 horsepower, so that would be quite an interesting vehicle to test out. And that's why I said vehicles and not just cars. Also, there will now be class-based Rivals events. Now, I've never really gotten into Rivals, so I don't know too much about that, but apparently that's been something that a lot of the community has been asking for. So if you're one of those people, you've gotten your wish. So we managed to take the turn onto the highway at quite a high speed, and this gives us a bit of a big head start on there above the McLaren Senna. And we do get up to quite a high speed actually here, probably more than on pretty much any other road racing track, well over 230 miles per hour. Now, unfortunately, I forgot to brake in time, and thus I hit the walls a bit and slowed down some. However, I was still going pretty fast, and then I just had to slow down all the way again to make it around this very tight, like pretty much 180-degree turn, which is where the Senna, with its better handling and better grip, really catches up to me. I've always liked Greendale Super Sprint, and I said this in a previous video, but it pretty much has a section for almost any sort of car in the game that you could think of. It has wide curves, it has long straight sections, it has hairpin curves, it has 90-degree turns, all just put together into one single track. So honestly, I think this would be a pretty good single track if you wanted to test a bunch of different cars on, especially if you want a 2-minute race and not a 7-minute race, or however long it takes to complete the Goliath. We do manage to narrowly come in first here in the last of these 3 sequential races in the real F40. Now moving on to the Lego F40, with the first race being on Horizon Festival Sprint. Now we should pretty much know what to expect sort of with this car versus the F40. As we can see in the test at the beginning, it has worse launch, definitely, as you can see here, but its acceleration after it's gotten up to speed around corners and stuff should be pretty strong. So let's see if that is indeed the case throughout these races. And I think having a purple Lego car instead of a gray one did help me out here. So in these next couple races, we've got Lukey in the Ford Transit Forza Edition van, which actually has quite good acceleration and is pretty good overall, which is not something you'd necessarily expect from a van. But hey, it's not necessarily a simulation game, so I guess that's acceptable. We've also got Varen Viper in the Rimac C2, which is a very powerful car in terms of speed and acceleration. However, it is a little bit of a boat in terms of the handling. Here we somehow managed to sloppily pass this Forza Edition van. Not entirely sure how. But yeah, the other person in the race is Invader, who is in his Altima 1020. Now, in a previous video, you may or may not remember, I talked a bit about the barn find that was added in the Speed Champions update, or whatever it was called, but the one that added the LEGO expansion, and about how that you couldn't actually get it yet. Apparently, it is actually going to be a 70s Porsche 911, which is an upcoming LEGO Speed Champions set. So we will likely see that car added in a later content update to the expansion, because it would be nice to have some more LEGO cars, and it looks like we'll be getting at least one more. The Ford Transit van did actually catch up a bit near the end of that race, however, we did manage to pull out the win. And now for our final race, which is on Edinburg City Sprint, and this is one that I usually like to test most of the cars in, just to see how they can do consistently making 90-degree turns, which is what a lot of the turns in this race really are. And it seems like this Lego F40 can take them pretty well. Now it's time for my general review about these cars. I would say that the F40, the real one, is definitely one of the kings of S2, if not the top car. I do not know that entirely for sure, but it's very high up there. This Lego F40 is still quite good, although not quite on the level of the real one, I would say, but it can still pull out a lot of wins, as you can see here, and as you could see in the Senna video. Both cars are definitely worth trying out in a multiplayer, so after a sort of boring race, we do manage to come in first. Thank you all for watching, please like the video if you enjoyed, and consider subscribing for more Asphalt 9 and Forza Horizon 4 content, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!